following someone who doesn't see an issue in their action. With that said, this is the very reason why we are striving and thriving to be and to become a better version of ourselves. Because in truth and in fact, we can only change ourselves. We only have the power to work on you. I want to remind you that mindset is everything. The wise man said, the wise man let go of all the results, whether good or bad, and focus on the action alone. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday Live Talk Show. I'm your host, Samantha McNeil. Would you be so kind to share this broadcast with your friends and your family and ask them to subscribe? Thank you. How are you doing this evening? How are you all doing this evening? How has your week been? And how is it going? How is it in all that is happening, Corona, and trying to stay safe? I hope you're staying safe and that you're doing the necessary things that you need to do to stay safe. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Thanks for those who will watch after and who will share after. For 2020, it's a different perspective. We are, it's a different perspective for 2020. 2021, why am I saying 2020? I thought I was long over 2020. I'm saying 2020. It's a long, it's a different perspective for 2021. We must become conscious of the unconscious. And this evening, we'll be focusing on a topic that most of the time affects us as individuals in our unconscious state of mind. So is it the ego or show off or I'm on a high horse? We are not pointing finger at anyone. We're making it very personal this evening. I'm asking ourselves, as we say, we have to become conscious of the unconscious. The things that we are not aware of, we want to become aware of them so that we can be a better version of ourselves. Because as we have often said, that if we are not honest with ourselves, then we will not be able to become a better version of ourselves. We have to be honest about our intentions, honest about our blind spots, honest about everything, the unconscious. So this evening we are focusing on the ego, and I'm sure a lot of times we might have heard it, and I think sometimes it is misunderstood what it is, the term. So we are gonna go through it. Feel free to comment in the chat. Also, if you want to call in and share your view, that is also available. You can comment in the chat and I'll read it and we hear your point of view on the matter. The ego has the power to influence or derail every aspect of our life. Accepting this opens the door to where the real work begins. An ego based mind can dominate everything in our life. An ego-based mind can dominate everything in our life because the ego has the power to influence or derail every aspect of an individual's life. The ego represents that part of ourselves that identifies with our self image, our personality, our talent, our accomplishments, and perceived weaknesses. That is everything that surrounds the false self. What the ego does is that it draws a line and separates you from someone. It leads you to see the world as this is me and that's the other. That's what the ego does. Interesting. Therefore, all of us have an ego. Yeah, you'll get to understand what it is and all of those things. Remember to share with everyone you know. The ego, what it does, it makes judgments and it longs to feel special. The ego in us like that kind of a feeling, likes to make judgment and it likes to feel special. What it does again, it loves conflict. It creates enemies and operates out of fear. That's what the ego does to us as individuals. It loves conflict and it operates out of fear and it creates enemies. So I'm sure you, I don't know anyone or it happens to you where you feel, you have that feeling where, as you said, it loves conflict and all of those things. So let us get into it and then we'll discuss. If you find yourself in any one of those moments, and if you call your false self out, that's the ego by saying, my ego is acting up, you realize that the power of the ego starts to diminish. And can I tell you, it is true. I have proven it. While I did my research on the ego, I've done it before while I studied for I did guidance and counseling. I did that aspect of the ego, the super ego, and the ego, and all of those things. Hello, blessed and highly favored. Happy to have you. Remember to share so that others can come on. All right. And as I said, that the ego is that part of us that makes judgment. It longs to feel special and it loves conflict. It creates enemy and it operates out of fear. And it is said if you find that you are having any one of these moments and you are conscious that hey, this is my ego that is acting up, and you call out your ego and say, hey, that is my ego acting up. The moment you become conscious of your ego, what starts happening is that the power of it diminishes. And as I said to you, it is true. A few weeks ago, as I said, while I was doing my research on the ego, my husband came home and he said something. He said something to me. I think I asked him a question, and he said to me, if you were playing games, you would have known. You would know what it means, what that means. And I got offended. I was offended. I was offended, and I was saying, I don't play game and I don't have to play game. All you had to do was just answer the question and don't and don't pick at me or say because I'm not playing game. I don't think that is relevant or that called for. And he was like, what? I said that I gave you the answer. I said that it's a game. And if you know you are asking me what it is, and I'm saying to you, if it is that you had played, you are a person who played game, you would know what it is. And right there, it came on my mind that, oh my, that's my ego. Because I was researching it and I am now aware that my ego loves conflict, operates out of fear, it loves to feel special, and all of those things. So I realized that this is my ego. And the moment I identified that, hey, wow, that's my ego. The moment I identified that that was my ego that was acting up, I just let it go. I was able to just let it go and say, yeah, it's true. Foolishness. Why are you laughing at me, Shanique? So once you are able to identify, they say people who are not playful are stubborn or difficult. I'm very strong-headed, very, very strong-headed, very strong-headed. And I find that I'm not really. I have my moment to be excited and whatever, but not a playful person. So the moment I identified that this was my ego that was acting up because it loves conflict, what is there to feel offended or to be offended about? That was a simple thing. That's a simple thing. Then I realized that it was easy for me to not feel anyway and to deal with it. So I can attest to you that it is in fact true. I don't know if anyone here this evening can identify when your ego is acting up. If you are able to, that is the way that it starts diminishing because the ego acts out of from an unconscious place. Once you become conscious of it, that your ego is acting up, then you realize that you are in control of it and it doesn't. It is somewhat, it dies. Identifying your ego helps you to begin to recognize that you are not your past, not your social status, the shape of your body, or the amount of money you have in the bank has no bearing on your true self. The moment you realize this, then your ego diminishes. So once an individual is not able, once an individual lives in that balloon or that bubble to say, oh, I'm all that and more because I have a nice shape, I wear nice clothes, and I have a degree, and everything is going well for me, and that's me, and I'm just on top of the world. And they feel that way, and they feed their self, their mind, and they uh, entertain that thought, and all of those things. You realize that the ego strives. If you realize that, no, I'm not, that's not who I am, what allow me to, that's not what allow me to be somebody, you realize then your ego diminishes. As we become aware of our spiritual existence, we miraculously shed our current state of the ego. Once we realize that we were all shaped, born in sin and shapen in iniquity, and in sin did our mother conceive us, and all of us came here as a blank slate, and it is when we came on this earth and we start gathering things, we start owning things, and my house and my hot body and my clothes and my husband and my wife and my, that our ego starts growing. But once we become aware of the fact that we all came here as a blank slate, then we realize that once we become of that fact, become aware of that fact, that we were all made in the image and the likeness of God, our ego dies. Guess what? The ego cannot work or cannot exist in consciousness. It cannot work in consciousness. As I shared with you my story, my experience, and that was the most recent one, that it cannot. Once I identify my that it was my ego that was acting up, I realized that at that moment I didn't feel offended anymore. It didn't. It was like, what to be offended about for real? That's foolishness. My uncle-in-law said him never born in a no sin and shaped sin. No, that means he doesn't believe what the word says then. Oh my God. So the question now is that have you lost your ego as yet? Have you lost your ego? Because the ego cannot exist in consciousness. It operates from an unconscious state of mind. An egoistic mind operates from an unknown place. The question I'm asking you now is if your ego, have you lost your ego? Yeah, it's a personal one. The ego is an idea that we carry around. I am what I have. I am what I do. I am separate from everyone else. I am what everybody think of me. I am separate from God, and I am separate from what is missing in my life. That that's where we were, that's what we were raised on. Socialization. And that's what the ego does. We carry around that idea that, oh, I'm all that, and oh, I'm all that and more. And it is said that that is how we were socialized. Because a child came into this world innocent. All of us were born as a child, we were born as children, as a babe, and we came here very innocent. We didn't know anything, but it was because of socialization why we have the mindset that we have. Yeah. It's out of mindset, it's out of socialization that we start believing that we are what we have. Eckhart Tolle, I think most of the information that I found some of the information from him. So credit to Eckhart Tolle. He talks about the ego so much. He says, while the ego is an aspect of the human condition, it is not the true essence of who we are. We operate from a place, we operate from the ego, and we are generally obsessed with right and wrong. Or when we operate from a place of the ego, we are obsessed with being right or wrong. And that is how we know that the ego strives in conflict. Because we are obsessed with being right or wrong. I don't know if it has ever happened to you or if you've ever met anybody who obsessed with right or wrong. And I guess, as I mentioned with this situation with me and my husband, we can identify that. I think most individuals can attest to that fact that that is where most of the times our ego come out. We want to be right, especially with our spouse, and even with children, with mothers and children, parents and children. You realize that too happens because you're obsessed with being right. I am the mother. I am the child. I am the adult. You're the child. So I'm always right and you're wrong. We obsess with being right or wrong. That is the ego at work. What the ego does, it doesn't only being obsessed with right or wrong, but also blame and shame. We are not acting from a loving place, but a judgmental place. It causes us to not act from a place of how I can serve, but or a place of how I can give. But what it does, rather we are thinking about what I can get from the situation. That's what the ego does to an individual. And we see a lot of that happening today. And as I said, if we are not conscious, if we don't become conscious that this is my ego that is acting up, then we won't be able to kill it. And in order for us to be a better version of ourselves, I believe that these are some of the things that we have to identify with and we have to help ourselves. That to allow our ego to die so that we can move forward and we can strive above it. So you find that persons are more conscious with what they can get. So if I'm not getting anything from it, I'm not doing it. While we should, as individuals, how God created us and how we came here was that we should operate from a loving place. Love our neighbors as ourselves. We find that hard because of our ego. Because of our ego, I can't love him because he's less than me. He's of a different color. He looks different. He's poor. He's uneducated, so he's not. I can't love him like how I love myself. What am I gonna? I can't do something for him because I'm not gonna. What am I gonna get? I'm not gonna get anything. So why am I gonna do it? That's the ego at work there. The ego doesn't want us to act from a loving place. So the ego makes you unwilling. Then yes, the ego is that part of us that you hold on to. You're obsessed with right or wrong. Obsessed with being right or wrong, blame and shame. If you're not getting anything out of it, you're not doing it. It strives on conflict. It like to feel special. It's self praise, overly self praising, and just all about what I have and what I own and who I am, and it's just about that. So I will not offer to help somebody because I'm thinking I'm not going to give them my money or not going to give them my time. What am I going to get? And it makes us unwilling because you can look at volunteering. If your ego is very active in our lives, then it makes us hard to volunteer. Because what am I going to volunteer for? What am I getting? I'm not getting anything. I'm not going to do it. Because the ego is allowing us to feel like, oh, I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I'm going to go volunteer. Oh, no. Free work? No. So that's what the ego does. It can be very bad. I think it's very bad too. I think so. And what I said, the ego, it acts from a place. It doesn't act from a place of where what I can do to help others. And you realize that that is one of the things why you realize that persons become so mean and so unkind. Because instead of it doesn't, the ego at work and alive and well and kicking in us does not operate from a loving place. Learning, though, to identify the traits and the behavior of the ego and then working to consciously make a different choice will drastically change your life. And that is why we're here this evening. We want to become a better version of ourselves. And it's not just about talking about it, but it is becoming conscious of the unconscious. Because once you identify the traits and the behavior of the ego, and then start working consciously to make a choice, your life drastically change. And it is true. The situation that I shared with you at the initial stage, it is true. Identifying my ego, I am not offended because that's the part of me that I let go of, my ego. That will allow me to feel and want to feel, become offended. And you realize why is it some persons are so easily offended? People will say they're thin skinned. The ego is at work. Everything troubles them. Everything bothers them. Everything is negative. Everything means something. What am I going to do that for? Oh, I don't love that person. I don't like that person. They're not better than me. I'm better than them. I don't go to certain places. I don't this. I don't that. The ego is at work. And most of the time, the ego, as we said before, operates from an unconscious place, not aware. And we said it, I can attest that I've seen persons who their egos are very strong and at work. And you say to yourself then, oh my God, and he or she can't see that something is wrong. No, they can't see it. We can't see it. Because the ego is obsessed with being right or wrong. So it doesn't matter what situation in your life and you're becoming offended about something, your ego is alive and well. Once you identify that, hey, this is my ego that is acting up when somebody says something to me, whether it is harsh or it is calm and I'm becoming offended, I'm offended about it. My ego is alive and kicking, and I'm in an unconscious state of my ego. Once I realize that, oh, that's my ego, let it go. No, you're not gonna be the boss of me. You realize that, okay, that's not that. I am not that, so it doesn't bother me. It's like bad breath. Everyone smell it except the person who has it. Yes, blind spot. And that is why I'm highlighting becoming conscious of the unconscious. A blind spot. Ego is like a blind spot. A bad breath. Everybody smelling it and you can't see it. You're saying, why? They be so close to their mouth and they can't smell it? No, they can't smell it. And they will even say it's somebody else, it's not them. So we have looked at what the ego is and what it does. And then we're going to look at show off and high horse, what it means and if they're the same thing. Show off, it displays some of someone or something that is a source of pride. So show off is of a prideful attitude. Welcome, Aretha. Persons places the self, pleases the self. The individual is self-absorbed. So true. Thank you for that. So true. So show off the person or some is a display of something. It's a display of something or someone that's a source of pride. It makes a deliberate and pretentious display of one's ability or accomplishment. That's what show off does. We all know people in our social group who like to show off. On the surface, they may seem cool, superior, and even admirable because of what they possess. But in the reality, they are totally, it is different in the reality. In most cases, those who show off, they have a feeling of insecurity. So they might seem cool, they might seem popular, they might seem all right, but underlining in truth and in fact, they suffer from a feeling of they have insecurity on the inside. And it is said that a martial arts master will never challenge you to a fight. A martial arts master will never challenge you to a fight. Why? Because he knows his skill. He knows that, hey, I am the master of martial arts. So everything that is there to know, I know it. But a beginner who is just learning martial art will want to contest everybody, will want to fight everybody because they want to prove to themselves and to others that, hey, I got this. I'm doing well. I can fight. I'm just bad to the bone. And that's what show off does. If one is really amazing and they believe it, there's no need to tell everybody. So most of the times when people show off, the fact of the matter is that they are not confident in themselves. So show off based on research is an identity issue. So the ego, we understand the ego, what the ego does, and then show off is more of an identity issue. So the person flaunt some things, flaunt what they have, flaunt their talents, talk about it. You realize some persons, while you're talking about, Last week I went down, or oh, I did this and oh, I did that, just to show that, hey, something is happening for me. But in truth and in fact, what is really happening is that they're feeling insecure. And we find that, and that is why when we talk about becoming a better version of ourselves, I can't overemphasize these things. And I'm really praying and hoping, it's a cry of my heart, that everyone that I come in contact with will become honest with themselves, will become honest with ourselves. Because don't think that I don't do these things with myself. I do them. As I said to you before, that the initial state when I was doing the research on ego, I realized where my ego was when my husband said a simple thing to me, and I was offended. And the moment I identified that it was my ego, I am now able to control that. And I was identifying my ego before, because I can tell you, I was, especially with my husband, I was easily offended. Everything. And then when I'm offended, I don't say what I am offended about. Because in my mind, I am saying that he must know what is offending me. And over time, when I analyze things and I use psychology and my own self, because I'm thinking, why have all the knowledge of it and not using it on myself? Doesn't make any sense. I want to become a better version of myself, and that is where I catch the vision and I say, hey, there are a lot of persons who are out there who, yes, we have a degree. Yes, we are in church. Yes, we are functioning. We have a family and stuff. But there are some hidden things. There are some things that we are unconscious of that are really stopping us from becoming a better version of ourselves because of socialization. And we think it's cool. We think it is okay because we're surviving. But once we become conscious of the ego and the place and the role that it plays, we realize that we are able to live a more peaceful life. Because some of the things that we kill up with self over and stress out with self over, nonsense. And I can tell you, as I've shared with you, holding on to some things that doesn't make sense because you feel like the person shouldn't have done that to you. The person should have said that to you. The person should know better. And you hold on to it for a long time, and it's taking away your peace while the person is on their merry way, or it's something that you can say overlook. Shani, let us say some of the chat. So true, I guess. Or that I'm saying is so true. That's why they are called young grasshoppers. Travel with the Dawsons. Thank you for tuning in. And you would know all of these things because yeah, you do study of psychology. Inconsistency of the inner man. Yes, it happens. It's in us. It's in us. It does happen naturally. That is why the ego operates from an unconscious place. It does happen naturally, especially if it's in our genes and we were socialized in an environment to be full of yourself and show off. It's gonna happen naturally. And until we identify with ourselves that, hey, you know that this behavior is just, it's not what's gonna help me to be the best of me, and say, okay, I'm gonna start working on me. Then you find that. All right, let us keep going because we don't want to go over our time tonight. So that's what show off does. And as I said to you, show off is identity issue. Persons who tend to show off and brag about what they have and want persons to know that they're really feeling insecure, and they just want to let everybody know that, hey, I'm somebody, I'm something. This is me. I have this too. I'm doing this too. All right, let's go to high horse. It says that high horse, you'll know if someone is on his high horse because he will behave as though he's superior to everyone and everyone around him. Almost like a little haughty king riding on his horse past his lowly subjects. So anybody who's on their high horse, we tend to know what it looks like because it's like a haughty king riding through the town and everybody has to look on them, as the term suggests. The phase or the phrase high horse grew to mean promptuous and self-righteous. Someone who is on their high horse, that's what they look like. They are promptuous and just self-righteous. It's just all about them. And based on research, what I realized too is that the high horse, is in fact the ego that is at work. While show off is identity issue, identity crisis. For clarification purposes, someone that is on a high horse holds the view of themselves in that their view of thinking or their way of thinking and living is standard and true, while others that deviate from their standard are lesser than them, lesser than they are, or even flat out wrong. That's what the person who is on their high horse believe. High horse believe that their way of thinking is right. And this is how we know that it's the ego that is at work, because what? The ego strives on conflict and is obsessed with right or wrong. And that's what a person who is considered on their high horse does. They only acknowledge other people on high horses of the same size as them. And most of the times you realize that persons who are on their high horses, they tend to draw to persons who are of the same mindset, the same attitude, the same behavior. That's what they do. They tend to draw to people who are on the same level of high horse. Because if your high horse is not as tall as theirs, you don't fit in their category. Your horse, in order for you to fit in their category, you must be riding side by side with them. So we realize that that is, in fact, the ego. So is it the ego, show off, or high horse? But here is reality. We are all on a high horse. Some of us are on donkeys. Research says that all of us go on our high horse at times. But some, in truth and in fact, some of us are riding donkeys and not horse. Am I riding a donkey? I don't want to be on a high horse. I want to be mellow and be myself and be real and not be promptuous and self-righteous. I don't want to be like that. It's just that some of us have our horses. When I say horses are better than that, are higher than some. So you might be thinking that the size of one horse represents their status. No, cannot be, will not be, because we all came here as a blank slate. So to avoid over becoming the exuberance of a person on a high horse, a good ego check is always healthy. Yeah. So to avoid yourself getting on a high horse, a good ego check regularly is healthy. That's the way to do it. Every now and then we check ourselves. I turn the searchlight in my soul. See if there any wicked ways in me. Try me and see their blessed says, all right? Yes, we have to do that in order for us to. So we realize that the higher horse operates out of the ego. The high horse operates out of the ego, while show off operates from, what's the word again? Identity. And we realize that in life, there's a saying that says trials keep you human. There are times when I've seen it where we're on a high horse, and something happens in our life, and what happened is that all four of our horse legs get broken or break at once, all at once. Four legs of the high horse just pop one time, ploop, and drop us at the ground. And there are times when life brings that to us, and you realize that once the foot or the feet of the horse breaks, we have to go back down to our normal level. And that is why a good ego check is always healthy. Get us back in line, help us to realize that, nah, life is not about what I have, cannot be. Because my righteousness is like filthy rags to the Lord, nothing at all. So where would I get this notion of feeling like I am better than, and I'm somebody because I have $2 in the bank, or I can buy something nice, or I can go somewhere nice, and I don't treat others as myself. And if the ego is at work, as we mentioned earlier, we won't be able to love our neighbor as ourselves. It cannot. It will not happen. And that's why we realize that it is so hard for us as individuals to love, because we are on high horses. Our egos are in our is up. It gives us a tail that is so high in our backs, and it is just flipping up and down like super mafia in our backs. But we want to be a better version of ourselves. I want to. I really want to. So before we close, we are going to look at three ways that we can manage our ego to create a more peaceful and loving life. As we mentioned before, once our ego is at work, you realize that it robs us of our peace. It loves confusion, it loves contention. And that is why you see some persons and you ask the question, why is it that you love confusion and contention so much? They're always in conflict with somebody. They're so obsessed with being right. They don't like to be wrong. A good ego check is always healthy. So let us come with me and let us look at the three ways in which we can manage our ego to create a more peaceful life. One, stop taking things personally. That's the first step. Stop taking things personally. Yeah, that's it right there. Because that's what the ego does. It allows us to take everything personally. Everything bothers us, and everything is at us, and everybody is at us, and everybody is taking us. And that's something that I learned too. Because I think that's something that I learned too. There are times when you may have friends or you might have people, and you realize you reach out to them and they don't answer, or something. Even maybe for what I'm doing something, I might send a link to somebody, I send a prayer to somebody, and they don't respond. And then what the ego wants to do is for me to take it personally. And it has happened to me. It happens to me. And I'm like, okay, I've been sending that person messages, and then I'm not gonna talk to them anymore. I'm not gonna send anything anymore because since I'm wasting my time or feel that way. And that's something that I learned, not to take it personally. And it helped me so much because I realize that sometimes it's not personal. The person on the other end might be going through something. So it helps when you kill the ego. It helps you to look on things from a different perspective. You change your mindset. So rather than taking things personal, you're looking and say, okay, something must be happening. So give the person the chance to to come around. Maybe something is happening. And sometimes you realize that in truth and in fact, something may have been happening. So try not to take things too personally. Because the ego loves to get offended. It loves to feel wounded. And it thrives on pain and conflict. So the ego is like, oh, they hurt me. This hurt me, he hurt me. Oh, I'm sorry for myself. I'm not going to love again. You're not going to love again. Oh, you're sad and you're hurt and they hurt you, so shut them out. Don't talk to them. That's what the ego does. So to thrive above the ego and to live a more peaceful life, don't take things so personal. I hope you have been sharing with your friends and your family thus far, and that we have some new persons on this evening. Thanks for having you. When we choose to be offended over things, we are actively choosing to allow the ego to take hold of our lives and create pain. In order to disassociate from this decision and make a different choice, we must recognize that this is our natural state. Humans are actually, humans actually want to connect and feel joy, not misery. I am sure that all of us can say that I love when I feel happy. And I can tell you that. And that's one of the things that causes me and allow me to let go of my ego. Not to take things personally because I love peace. I love joy. I hate misery. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't go on me well. I don't like it. It doesn't look good on me. I don't want it to wear, so I don't wear it. I like to dress up in smiles and happiness and bubbles and balloons and all of those wonderful things. So I kill that ego because I want to have a happy and a peaceful life. So humans actually want to connect to joy and not misery. If someone does or says something that makes you feel or have a negative emotion, you have two choices. You can react and engage in a conflict, or you can ignore and have peace. It's a choice. Yes, it is. Give yourself that goal. You can choose to recognize that anything negative said or done from from another person, could be a projection of their own ego. So ignore it and save the love that you have and the energy that you have to love and to give service. Number two, remember we're looking at three ways how we can get rid of our ego so that we can live a more peaceful life. Number two, forgive. So after we start taking things personally, the next thing we want to do is to forgive. The ego loves to be right, love being right. It sustains itself in this way. The problem is to keep you from doing what you need to do to move closer to love and truth. That's what the ego does. The ego is a sort, is like a weed in a flower's garden. It will drain the life out of you. That's what the ego does. The ego is like a flower, a bad weed in a flower garden. It sucks all the nutrients that is supposed to go into the flower, into the plant. And that is why we have to let that ego go if we want to have peace. You have to let go of being right. Time is going. And the third one is let go and observe. Let go of trying to be right, trying to win, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, and just observe. The ego wants to prove itself and jump up and down to gain validation. That's what the ego does. Beat up your mouth and beat up your gum to be right. Let it go. By becoming aware of the ego and its need to be seen and heard or acknowledged, you open up a space to, to be seen and heard without expectation. By observing without expectation, you then see that they are, or see what they are. You see people as they are rather than through a projected sense of lack because they are not matching up to your ego's demand. Yes. When you let go of your ego, that's what happens. We are able to just live and not have an expectation of people because they're not living up to our demand. We are forcing people to be what we want them to be. And then when they are not, our ego wants us to be offended. And then once that happens, we live in misery and we don't live our best self. In this space, there is only an opportunity to sit back and observe as to who or who is not functioning from a place where they can offer themselves up emotionally to give love, acceptance, and adoration to you. That is what it does. When you give up and let go of that ego, you realize that you're able to see who is able to give you love and to be allowed to be in your space and to give to always contributing to your peace. Who is not, you don't have to fuss with them. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to worry about it because you have no expectations and your ego has died. So you're not obsessed with being right or wrong. You're obsessed with love and harmony and peace. So this means when we let go of controlling in an attempt to have our needs met, we let go of that. This is freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Hey, hey, I am free at last. Free at last. And if you can see on my shirt, it says, I'm living my best life. Hey, oh, 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 hey. Yeah, I'm living my best life. Oh my God. Yes, 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 yes. Let go of your ego, and it allows you to live in peace and harmony, and you won't be offended and bothered and worry about what's not happening and what's not working and who's not liking you and who's not this and who's not that and all of those things that causes misery. But that you live in peace and harmony, and at that time you'll be able to live your best life. Oh, your best life. All right, I was just gonna say, where is blessed and highly favored? My husband keeps telling me to stop taking things personally because I do sometimes. Yeah, yeah. And that's why I mentioned that I know that it happens in a relationship with husband and wife. I know it does. More than maybe than anybody else, it does. We take things personally when it's our husband or our wife, especially for wives. We like to take it personally. I don't know why. All right, we are over our time a little bit. Let's see if we can wrap up in 10 minutes. So Eckhart Tolle says, the moment you become aware of the ego in you, it is strictly no longer the ego, but just an old conditioned mind pattern. Ah, yes. Yes, and I believe him. I believe him. Because the ego implies unawareness. Awareness and ego cannot coexist. Yes. So once you let go of the ego and you become aware of it, the ego cannot operate in you because it cannot operate in consciousness. There is no denying that the ego serves its purpose. Yes, it does. It serves its purpose. I heard, when I was researching, I heard one individual say the purpose that you can use it when you want. Because, for example, you're not feeling so confident about doing something. You can use your ego to perk you up. You can say, girl, you got it locked. Yeah, come on. There's nobody like you. You're the best. You don't know that there's nobody like you. So, yes, there's no doubt that the ego is not all bad. But you have to have it under control. You have to be ruling it. If it is ruling you, then it's no good. You have to be the driver for it and you have to be steering it. If you are not steering it, then it messes you up. All right, as we close, where are we? It says that it is no denying that it serves its purpose, but when the ego becomes dominant in the process of your mind, you fall out of alignment with your true self. Yes. When the ego is the dominant process of your mind, your mindset is conflicting, is negative, is obsessed with being right, all of those things, then you are not living your true self. And that is why we are becoming conscious of the unconscious. You cannot live your best self, you cannot live your true self if your ego is ruling you and you're not ruling it. Thank you. Great session. Very helpful. Ego checklist. Don't take things personally. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. With practice, you can learn how to manage your ego better and create a life that feels more peaceful and authentic. As Gandhi says, when the ego dies, the soul awakens. So wake up your soul. Once your ego dies, you're able to live your best life. Hey, I'm living my best life. Are you living your best life? Have you lost your ego? Yes, you can lose it. Get in control of it. Let your ego die a little more each day so your own soul can awaken and grow. So your freedom and joy can grow. So your peace can come forward. Bless your life by letting go of your ego. Yeah. And this is where we close tonight. Let go of, let your ego die a little more each day so your own soul can awaken and grow. So your freedom and joy can grow. So your peace can come forward. Bless your life by letting go of your ego. And it's time for us to relax as we go. And we are going to let go of that ego so that we can bless our life. That we can bless our life and have a great life. So get yourself in a relaxed position. I trust that this session has been a very helpful one for you. You can share it with your friends. You can download it, whatever you want to do, and share it with other persons. Maybe there are some parts of it that is more, I don't know, you want to use. Yeah, so we got to let go of it so we can live a more peaceful life. We can be the best version of ourselves. So we're going to do a relaxation technique as we go. Get yourself in a relaxed position as we inhale and exhale. While you inhale, you're going to take your arms above your head gently, softly, slowly. And when you inhale, you're going to hold that breath in your chest until you feel it. and then you are going to exhale softly through your mouth. Are you ready? One, two, three. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One last time. Inhale and exhale. Exhale out your ego. Let it all go and bless your life. Have yourself a blessed night. And thank you for tuning into Wisdom Wednesday Live Talk Show. See you next week. Next week we have another guest as we look at another interesting topic. Remember to share. Remember to ask your friends and your family to subscribe. If you don't share, it will just stay right here. You have to share. That's what happens to allow things to go viral and to go out there. And I'm sure that there are a lot of persons out there that we want to get the help that we're getting. So be so kind and share it with them. You can just go on the page, go to there's three buttons there. I think there says share, and you can share it right there. You can copy the link and you can share it to each person in your WhatsApp. You can share it on Facebook. You can just share the link, copy the link, and you can put it in your on Facebook where it says what's on your mind, and you click right, I think right click right there, put it there, and then once you place it there, it comes up. You can share. You can go on my page at Midnight Warrior Ministries, and you share it from there on your page. Uh, Ask persons to subscribe so that we can have more persons coming on and striving and striving to be a better version of themselves. Have yourself a blessed night. Take care and bye bye. Love you all. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being here. Big up yourself. Living your best life. All right. Take care.